Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim, exploring creation. Muslim scientists investigate the wonders of the natural world. Allah will exalt in degree those of you who believe and those who have been granted knowledge. Are those who know equal to those who know not? Scientific inquiry is at the core of what it means to be a profound Muslim. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, "The seeking of knowledge is obligatory for every Muslim," Al-Tirmidhi narrated. In Islam, science has two interconnected pathways in the pursuit and application of knowledge. Science explores and strives to articulate as precisely as possible the underlying principles and the practice of the worship of Allah and the characteristics of the created natural world, and how this knowledge may impact on the human condition and human endeavours. Building on the scientific inquiries of generations and cultures preceding Islam, this knowledge underpinned researches and transformational discoveries by great Muslim scientists such as Abu Musa Jabir ibn Hayyan, 1722 to 804, Abu Ali al-Hasan ibn al-Haytham, 905 to 1040, Abu Rayhan al-Biruni, 973 to 1040, Abu Ali al-Husayn ibn Abdallah ibn al-Hasan ibn Ali ibn Sina, 980 to 1037, and Muhammad ibn Musa al-Khwarizmi, 1750 to 850, in the fields of astronomy, physics, chemistry, medicine, mathematics, and many more. Spurred on by a sense of wonder in both the order and diversity of creation, these early scientists were polymaths who intertwined researches into multiple aspects of the natural world with strivings to articulate our understanding of the Islamic faith and its prescriptions. Islamic science and the systematic pursuit of knowledge, supported through the teaching institutions of madrasas and libraries, had a significant impact on Europe, mainly through the vibrant Muslim civilization in Andalusia, Spain. Through the Mongol invasions of the 13th century and their aftermath, although the Mongol invasions of the 13th century and their aftermath had an impact on the scope and pace of scientific inquiry in the heartlands of Islam, such endeavours did not cease. Well before European science regained momentum in the Renaissance, we see, for instance, Ulugh Bek, 1394 to 1499, the grandson of Amir Timur, who was involved in significant astronomical activities through his observatory in Samarkand, and he was acknowledged by European scholars as among the pantheon of world astronomers. Across the Islamic world, advances were continually made in the application of science to technological solutions of practical utilitarian problems. As in the early days of Islam, there was continuing cross-fertilization across civilizations and cultures in the 18th century as Europe launched the technological and manufacturing advances we now know as the Industrial Revolution and consolidated its colonization of large parts of the Islamic world. The greatest sustained Muslim power, the Ottoman Empire, increasingly turned to the European continent for scientific and technological inspiration and guidance. This asymmetrical transfer led to Muslim achievements in science being overshadowed by the historical and social narratives of the West. For some time thenceforth, Muslim natural scientists did indeed play a diminished role, and the pursuit of religious sciences dominated the inner worlds of the conservative Muslim communities. Eventually, and paradoxically perhaps by the late 19th century, educational advances in pedagogy in the West impacted on conservative Muslim societies. The Muslim Jihadist educators of Tsarist Russia provided a significant example, stimulating new currents of inquiry for youth and opportunities to shatter the colonial mold. Muslims studied scientific disciplines in the West and in Western institutions in the colonized worlds. By the mid-20th century, a cadre of Western-educated Muslim specialists had developed a process in which USSR teaching and research institutions also played a significant role. The breakup of the colonial world following World War II provided new opportunities for Muslim scientists to actively engage with their colleagues in the West and in their newly independent home countries. A generation of Muslim scholars born in the 1930s and 1940s has produced a significant number of world leaders in the natural sciences, including 3 Nobel laureates: Muhammad Abdus Salam, 1926 to 1996, 1979 Nobel Prize in Physics; Ahmed Zewail, 1946 to 2016, 1999 Nobel Prize in Chemistry; and Aziz Sanchar, 1946 to today, 2016 Nobel Prize in Chemistry. 2 of these men, Abdus Salam and Ahmed Zewail, have left personal written testimonies to the support of learning inherent in Islam, to which they attributed their scientific successes. Abdus Salam saw his religion as a fundamental and integral part of the scientific work. He wrote that the Holy Quran enjoins us to reflect on the verities of Allah's created laws of nature. However, that our generation has been privileged to glimpse a part of this design is a bounty and a grace for which I render thanks with a humble heart. During his acceptance speech for the Nobel Prize in Physics, Salam quoted the Quran: "You see not in the creation of the All-Merciful any imperfection. Return your gaze. Do you see any fissure? Then return your gaze again and again. Your gaze comes back to you dazzled, wearied." And he stated that this, in effect, is the faith of all physicists. The deeper we seek, the more is our wonder excited, the more is the dazzlement for our gaze. While Salam grew up in the sphere of the Badawiya Tariqat, Egyptian Ahmed Zewail grew up in that of a contemporary and pupil of al-Badawi, Sheikh al-Said Ibrahim al-Dasugi, 1255 to 1296, another great Egyptian sheikh who lived his whole life in a town close to where al-Badawi was buried. The memoirs of Zewail are particularly instructive about the atmosphere of the social respect for learning in which he grew up. Reading his words, one feels swept back in time, as though hearing the boyhood reminiscences of a leading scholar of Islam's golden age. I am very proud of the value system I was given by my family and the way I grew up as a Muslim in Egypt. With our smallness in the universe at large, I bear in mind the important role of faith and scholarship. Although I'm concerned about injustice in the world today, I am an optimist. I believe that with the power of knowledge and rational thinking, we can and should build bridges between humans, between cultures, and between nations. He reminisced, "Much of the importance of Dasugi, where I grew up, is that it has spiritual depth. In the center of the town is the mosque of Sidi Ibrahim al-Dasugi, an Egyptian scholar and a Sufi and a student of another famous Sufi, Ahmad al-Badawi. The mosque was very important in my life because it defined my early childhood. When I look back at my life, I realize that the mosque was the nucleus for scholarship of that age, at that age. By this I mean that we used to go to the mosque to study, which is traditional in Islam. The mosque is not just for prayer. It is a place for scholarship. It has a sacredness, and with its beautiful spacious architecture of domes, columns and minarets, it radiates the power of respect. The mosque was like glue, keeping everyone working and living together in harmony. The moral and ethical influence of the mosque created a simple and sheltered environment that was also exciting. I vividly recall the sunset during the month of Ramadan, when people were hurrying home to the tranquil sound of prayer in the background, and all shops closed down for iftar just before the boom of the cannon signaled the time for us to eat. As youngsters, we were attracted to, not repelled by, such an institution of faith, and the leaders of the mosque community encouraged scholarship. We saw scholarship in thinking and analyzing, and repeatedly we were told of the fundamental role of science and knowledge in our lives. After all, we were told again and again, the first message revealed to the Prophet begins with the word, read. Another generation of scientists from across the world of Islam continues to build strongly on the modern legacy of those like Salam, Zuwail and Sankar, underpinned by timeless Islamic values. Although their activities and achievements may not yet be sufficiently known by the general public, they are abundantly recognized by the international scientific community.